Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm Susan Collins, the Joan and Sanford Weill Dean here at the Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy, and I couldn't be more delighted to see all of you here with us for a very special policy talks. We're very pleased, before I begin, we're very pleased that University of Michigan Regent Shauna Ryder-Diggs is here with us, and also that University Vice President for Government Relations, Cynthia Wilbanks, will be joining us. Thank you both. Great to have you here with us. I'd also like to thank the Ross School of Business and Dean Allison Davis Blake for co-sponsoring this event. Allison, we're delighted that you're here with us this afternoon as well. And a very special welcome to all of the members of the business school community, in particular a number of business school students who are here with us too. Thanks for joining us. Well, the Ford School is very fortunate this week to be hosting two distinguished members of the Obama administration. Later this week, we will send a delegation of our students to New York for a meeting and lecture with U.S. Secretary of Commerce Penny Pritzker. And if you'd like to tune in on Thursday, please see fordschool.umich.edu for information about how to live stream that event. Well, today, it is truly my great honor to welcome all of you here for one of the nation's most distinguished public servants, the United States Secretary of Labor, the Honorable Thomas E. Perez. Secretary Perez has been a lawyer and civil rights advocate for his entire career. He has been committed to making good on the promise of opportunity for all. He served as U.S. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the Department of Justice from 2009 to 2013. There, Secretary Perez actively addressed a wide range of civil rights issues, notably police discrimination, voting rights, and LGBT discrimination in the workplace. In fact, he was the lead official investigating the Trayvon Martin shooting. In 2013, he was sworn in by President Obama as Secretary of Labor. Equal opportunity employment has been a cornerstone for his tenure at the Department of Labor, where he continues to work through programs such as registered apprenticeship. His remarks today will focus on a very important aspect of the department's work, its approach to building conscious capitalism and inclusive economic growth in the United States. As it's come to be described, the Obama administration, through this initiative, wants to encourage and make it easier for corporations to do well by doing good. Following Secretary Perez's remarks, we'll take questions from the audience, and so in about 10 minutes, there will be staff circulating the aisles to collect question cards. Professor of Public Policy and Business Administration, Marina von Neumann-Whitman, together with two Ford School students, Emily Ruska and Max Lerner, will facilitate the question and answer session. And for those watching online, we encourage you to send your questions in to us via Twitter. Please use the hashtag #PolicyTalks. And now, please join me in welcoming Secretary Perez to the University of Michigan and to the Ford School.
Good afternoon. Hey, it's great to be back here. When I was in the Civil Rights Division, I remember the privilege I had to go and speak to folks at the law school, and I'm honored to be here as well. Dean Collins, thank you for your wonderful introduction. Professor Whitman, thank you for your hospitality before, and to the students I had a chance to spend a better part of an hour with. You asked great questions, and the best of luck to all of you. I've had the privilege in this job of making a lot of house calls, and there's no city where I've actually been to, or no state I've been to more than Michigan. And in particular, I've spent a lot of time in Detroit, and I'm proud to say that. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, so I like the Great Lakes. And I got married in Milwaukee, so I really like the Great Lakes, okay? And I had the opportunity when I was in Detroit for many visits to meet with remarkable leaders, whether it's Mayor Bing, Mayor Duggan, met with the governor, met with incredible business leaders who are part of the renaissance of Detroit. Bless you. Bless all of you. Let's just start out with that, okay? So the benediction is over, and we'll move right on. I met with the Fight for 15 movement, met with workers, met with faith leaders, and as I said, as a guy who grew up in Buffalo, what I love about Michigan is it's a state of folks who understand the importance of resilience, because you know what? Every time you get knocked down, you get up even stronger. Every challenge here is met with a remarkable determination and resolve, and that's because of the remarkable character of people here, the grit and determination of businesses, of workers, of people in this state. And let me just give you one example of someone, and I still keep in contact with her. I met a woman named Andrea Rush when I was in Detroit, and she actually came to the State of the Union one year at the invitation of the First Lady. Andrea started a business called Detroit Manufacturing Systems. Andrea went from 0 employees to over 1,000 employees with the help of the Department of Labor and the Department of Labor's workforce investments. Our workforce investments are a joint partnership of the state, the federal government, and local government. And working together, we helped Andrea grow her business. And now she is one of the principal suppliers of the console for the Ford F-150 pickup truck. And as you know, the Ford F-150 is the best-selling truck in America. That's not meant to be an advertisement for Ford. That's just a statement of fact. And it was remarkable because she hired people who were from the community. She hired people who were veterans. She hired people, in some cases, who had a criminal history. And in all cases, she hired people with tremendous talent and determination who wanted to be part of the renaissance of Detroit. People like Andrea Rush inspire me. People like Tom Kartsotis, who was in my office about a week ago, the founder of Shinola. They believe in Detroit. And as a result of what they're doing, they are just going gangbusters. And so, you know, one of the remarkable privileges of this job is getting to meet people who are indeed doing extraordinary things. And they do indeed, as I've learned from this job and from my prior job, they come from all walks of life, and they share really a vision for America that the rising tide should indeed lift all boats and not just the yachts, that everyone who works hard in America ought to get a chance to get ahead, and that in this most prosperous nation on the planet, zip code should never, ever determine destiny. And what I really want to talk to you about today is where we've come as a nation, where we were, where we've come, and where we need to go. And I want to share some of the experiences I've had, not simply in Michigan, but across the country, meeting remarkable people. Because the reality is that back in 2009, when the president took office, we were in the worst ditch of our lives. In the 3 months before President Obama took office, over 2 million jobs were lost. There was a conversation, as you well know, about whether the auto industry should be allowed to die. And there was all sorts of challenge around our country. Now you fast forward, just last Friday was our most recent numbers day. The unemployment rate, which was going toward 10% in 2009, is now 4.9%. That's the lowest rate in 8 years. We've now had 71 consecutive months of private sector job growth, over 14 million jobs. In the depths of the recession, there were roughly 7 job seekers for every job opening. Now there's about 1.5 job seekers for every job opening. I went to law school and the Kennedy School because I wasn't very good at math. But you don't need to be a math whiz to figure out you'd rather compete against one person for a job than against 6 people for a job. You look at the auto industry. Last year was its best year ever, completing a 6-year stretch that's the best 6-year stretch since the end of World War II. And so we're making real progress. And the challenge is that we've got a lot of unfinished business because there's no one spiking the football in Washington. And there's no one spiking the football because, you know what? A rising tide, as I said before, needs to lift all the boats and not simply the yachts. And what I have seen in my work is that we can do that, but it's about choices. All too frequently, I hear conversation that talks about technology and globalization and other forces as if the unfinished business of America is beyond our capacity to accomplish. We can't do it. It's inevitable. It's the invisible hand at work. I categorically reject those claims because I have seen business leaders like Andrea Rush and others. I have seen government leaders who have come together. I've seen faith leaders and other leaders who have come together around a vision of shared prosperity. People who understand what my parents taught me, that if you blow out your neighbor's candle, it does not make your candle shine any brighter. That for America to be at its best, we all succeed only when we all succeed. These are choices that we make. When we choose to slash budgets, when we choose to underinvest in infrastructure, those aren't inevitable things that we had no choice in making. Those are explicit choices. And we have a choice between racing to the bottom or racing to the top. We have a choice between building higher walls or building a bigger table. And these are choices that I want to talk about today because I have met with so many leaders across this country who have responded to these choices by embracing a movement that they call conscious capitalism. This coming Friday, we'll be hosting a meeting in Washington with a good friend of mine, Kip Tyndall, who's the CEO of the Container Store, one of the best places to work in America, a publicly traded company. And Kip understands the stakeholder model of governance, which says that shareholders are best served when all stakeholders are well served. When we reject false choices, I either take care of my worker, or I take care of my shareholder, or I take care of my customer, but I can't do all three. They categorically reject that. The conscious capitalism movement is about creating value for all of our stakeholders, customers, employees, communities, natural ecosystems, supply chains. This is what the president said in the most recent State of the Union. This year, I plan to lift up the many businesses who figured out that doing right by their workers or their customers or their communities ends up being good for their shareholders. And I want to spread those best practices across America. That's part of a brighter future. And so that's what we have to talk about. And we see it in the context of the growth that we've had. You see it in the context of where we were, where we are, and where we need to go. And so that is why I am so excited, because you know what? We have come a long way. But in the house calls that I make, I am reminded day in and day out of the unfinished business. I remember like yesterday a visit I took to Detroit with Mayor Duggan, in which we sat down with fast food workers.